It has been a tumultuous last few years for one of the LPL's blue chip old school orgs. Edward Gaming dominated the LPL for years, going to Worlds 5 straight years from 2014 to 2018, but are returning this year in 2021 for the first time since losing to Fnatic in the quarterfinals in 2018. This team has been built around mid laner Scout and support Mako since 2016, the latter having played for EDG since spring of 2015. The other head of the triumvirate core of those dominant mid-2010 teams was, of course, jungler Clearlove, whom the org brought back as a jungler before 2021 after he had been a coach for the team for the last 2 years. It was a move that simultaneously enthralled, surprised, confused, and maybe even slightly terrified EDG fans across the board, and then very quickly became the least exciting thing about the team because Clearlove played just one game for EDG in 2021. Instead of Clearlove, the team opted to continue playing homegrown jungler Jie and signed 20-year-old former Griffin and Hanwha Life ADC Viper, as well as veteran top laner Flandre to round out the year's roster. Between Flandre, Mako, and Scout, there are over 19 years of top-level League of Legends experience. Between Viper and Jie, 8. But these varying levels of familiarity on the roster with the pro scene helped take the org to sustain levels atop the LPL standings that it hadn't experienced in years. EDG went a combined 25-7 in their series over the spring and summer splits, which was the best year-long mark in an LPL notorious for its relative unpredictability. After all, 2 of the 4 teams that made it to the World's group stage in 2020 missed the playoffs entirely this time around, and the 2 that did make it in 2021 bombed out in their first series. But the LPL is also a region that gives you a much bigger and arguably much better with their best of 3 format sample size of games from which to draw conclusions about its teams from. And maybe it's because they hadn't been in a global spotlight in a while after teams like Invictus Gaming, Fun Plus Phoenix, RNG, and others rose back into the foreground. But the number 1 seed out of the most populous country in the world sure haven't felt like they have all the tools and even more of a fire and historical chip on their shoulder to prove to the rest of the esport that they are wrong to underestimate them. That coming into Worlds as the Summer Split Champion 1 seed from the best region on the planet isn't an accident, and that it does in fact mean that you are the best team in the world. And while their 3-1 win over Fun Plus Phoenix in the LPL Summer Finals wasn't a fluke by any means, it was also not representative of both teams' levels. That being said, EDG's top side is one of the best in the world, and the team as a whole showed it can play from behind intelligently via cross-map plays, individual mechanical skill in skirmishes, and a very good understanding of what the compositions they draft want to do in any given game. And Viper is still the best AD carry in the world. If there's anything that does this team in, however, it would be the floors of their solo laners, specifically top laner Flandre. To his credit, he played extremely well from behind on Lucian in Game 1 of that final against FPX, which is nothing to sniff at when facing down Nuggery. But Jie has been on an absolute heater in the summer split on early game junglers, and if there are no solo laners to enable, and therefore no bridge into the late game for Viper to take over, better teams, of which there are very, very, very few, will beat them. A few things might need to break their way for this team to reach the immortality that awaits at the end of the tournament, but Edward Gaming have the history, the structure, and the talent ceiling to take home the glory at Worlds 2021. Thanks for watching. For more gaming related content, subscribe to the Esports YouTube channel to stay up to date.